We'll go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with some introductions here in the room. Start to my right with
Becky Carrasco, NFRMPO. Hannah Feldman, City of Greeley. Rose Cunningham, City of Loveland.
Dana Holcomb, City of Fort Collins. Durham Rouser, North Range MPO. Jonathan Stark.
Michaela Crawlin, North Front Range MPO. North Front Range MPO. Tanya Sugar Martinez, MPO. Gina Fox, CDOT. Denise Staley, Wells County.
and I'm Evan picking with both county. And then we'll jump online and see who we've got up there. How about we start with Renee?
Renee Jording, City of Greeley Mobility Services.
And Tom?
Hi, folks. Tom Moore with the Regional Air Quality Council.
Aaron?
Aaron Hull, mobility planner at the NPO.
Brendan?
Brendan Ciccioni, air quality and transportation planner with CPHE.
I think we're on Jody.
Hi guys, Josie Thomas, CDOT Region 4 Planning.
Elizabeth?
Good afternoon, Elizabeth Relford, Executive Director, North Front Range MPO.
And Candace?
Sorry, did you say Candace? Candace Folker, City of Loveland Transit.
And Kim?
Kim Covenamy, Town Engineer, Town of Timnath.
Very good. We had a couple more join us in the room. Let's go, Scott.
Scott Pearson, Town Winter.
All right.
Josh Blumenauer, City of Fort Collins Transport.
All right, very good. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, which is public comment. We'll allow 2 minutes, public comment per person. Are there any individuals that like to speak during public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the April 15th, 2026 meeting minutes. And I'll look for a motion on the approval of the minutes, or any questions on the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from April.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. We'll look for approval on this. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, with that, we'll approve the meeting minutes for the April 15th meeting. Had a little bit of a change in our agenda here, and so we're going to move on to a presentation with Gina regarding the Mulberry Interchange project update.
Thank you, Evan. Yeah. So I-25 and Mulberry Interchange, I'm here. I don't think we've done our best job of communicating this project with the NPO. And so, I do want to apologize for that. We will be inviting you to future stakeholder meetings. Where we're at right now, it's still early stages. There's still no construction funds, but, yeah, let's get into it and I can explain that a little bit further. I don't know who has control of it. The next slide. Thanks. So where we're at today, I think everybody knows that this was a 10-year plan project. There was an EIS on I-25 back in the early 2000s. And it's been going on. And so in February 2024, we kicked off the design of this project, really analyzing what should this interchange in this area look like, optimizing our layout. And so where we're at today is we're progressing to that 30% design still. And we are, we did pull out one portion of it where we are seeing a lot of incidents, and that is being broken out with state funds, with faster safety funds. It's a small project, but it's something, instead of waiting for a grant someday, years and years in the future, we can do this now to put a Band-Aid on the solution. And so with that, So overall, we're still progressing 30% design, meanwhile plucking out a small piece for pedestrian safety on the corridor. So next slide. This is just kind of that background of what was in that EIS. This is the layout before we optimized and looked at the interchange area. This was what that EIS showed. So a carpool lot and then essentially a diamond with other connections. So moving forward, go to the next slide. Actually, I guess, yeah, go back a slide. So the important thing about this is that's what got it on our 10-year plan. It's also an NFRMPO priority project. And so the funding availability right now is only through interim design. So we still need to go after grants to get final design and construction dollars. And that's what this slide is explaining. We have $3.5 million total budgeted for the project, and it's, by the time we build it, could be 75 to 80 million, so. Next slide, please. And then these are just some of our project goals. It's a lot. Overall, these are the big issues out there and what we need to be considering. Regional connectivity is a big one, especially along that Mulberry corridor. There's a lot of development out east, and we're seeing that, and so it's starting to grow significantly out here. There are floodplain and drainage issues. There's aging infrastructure. It is not aging enough to be eligible on our bridge replacement just yet, so it's not BT eligible. We do think once that happens, that domino effect will begin to occur out here for funding availability. Next one. This is just some pictures of that local drainage issue that we have. We do have to close our frontage road almost annually. This is a 10-year storm event, which happens every couple of years, quite honestly, in this area. So just I don't have any pictures from 2025. I don't think we had to close in 2025, but we do, our maintenance guys regularly do the frontage road.
You said that the 10-year event?
Mm-hmm. And it's the one in 2024, it rained for about 7 minutes, and that's what it looks like. It was a very heavy rain. A lot of, yeah, it all just kind of comes down from that corner. It's not a floodplain issue. This is just runoff. Just finding the lowest spot. So that's something I would say of the two major items we want to fix out here, this is one of them. And the other one's the pedestrian safety. The next slide. And this is that pedestrian safety. So this is, since we took it out, and all except one, I think the bicycle on the very left of the screen, all of those strikes occurred since we started in February 2024. And that's only through, so I actually don't have the past 4 months. So if there's been anything else out there, this slide is outdated. But that's just all the incidents we've had with bike and ped. So if you are familiar with this area, there are a lot of pedestrians trying to cross with zero pedestrian infrastructure, and that's what we're seeing. And there's no lighting either, so they're crossing at night, or they cross all the time, 24 hours, but when it's dark, can't see them, and they get hit quite a bit. The next slide. And then this was an email from UC Health, their administrative services, informing us of the increase in pedestrians being hit at, so this is from Cedar Valley Hospital, right there in Fort Collins. Even more reason for us to not wait for some huge grant to come through and cross our fingers. We need to do something now. So that's why we're plucking out that other project. So next slide. This is just some of that information of, this is the increase in volume, traffic volume now we're seeing. What I really would like you guys to get out of this slide, on the left was the 2024 traffic counts that we got. On the right, so it's morning and PM peak hours, AM and PM peak hours. On the right are the projections out to 2050. So what we're noticing is a much larger increase on that east-west movement of State Highway 14, which we're seeing currently. There's a lot more people are moving out east. And then we have a very large turn movement from I-25 into Fort Collins, and Fort Collins to I-25. Which goes into this value engineering process. So what we did here was, it's called the PACE, Performance and Acceptance Criteria Evaluation. So we looked at a bunch of criteria. Almost think of it as a room of engineers, planners, sat down and threw out every possible option we could of what we can do in this area. Does I-25 go over? Does it make more sense for 14 to go under? Just about anything. And so we ended up coming up with the best scenario from not just a cost perspective, but safety, reliability, how it met those goals at the beginning. And so next slide, this was if we get all the money we can do everything, we can improve the floodplain out here, we can improve separated grade crossings. This would be the ideal interchange selection. It's a diamond with separated grade detached pedestrian facility. Next slide, the reality of what we're likely going to build, grant dependent. I guess a couple things. One, you'll see on the very left, that's where we're going to do this breakout project right now. Hopefully that's constructed this time next year to have an at-grade pedestrian crossing of State Highway 14, where we'll try to funnel all foot traffic towards these signals. There is not a separated grade crossing underneath that ties the frontage roads together. Two reasons for that. The first one is getting all that frontage road traffic over to Greenfields, the next signalized intersection, has a level of service that most designers design to anyway. It works. And so investing in the infrastructure to separate it and carry it underneath the State Highway 14 ends up impacting the floodplain. And so it would be a cost savings of $30+ million that traffic wise is not necessary at this time. Still an option I'd like to throw out there. We are placing the bridge at a profile elevation. Should we ever address the floodplain someday, that connection could be made. It may only be a pedestrian connection, but so from north to south on the west side, those frontage roads, we'll set the girders and the profile of the bridge so it could be built someday. But there will be a lot of floodplain work in order to get that. This option right here does not impact the floodplain. Next slide. And then this is just a zoom in of this temporary at-grade pedestrian crossing. I believe that's it.
There is a question in the chat,
Yes.
which is how do you identify those pedestrian crossings?
Like where to put them? Is that the question?
No, I don't know. Do you want to elaborate?
I'll give it a shot. So, what we look at, if you do.
Yes, where to put.
Where to put them, okay. So if you go out there, there's a few things. You can see where people are crossing right now. It's influenced by the raised median and the cable barrier. But the other thing you look at is what are they trying to get to? So we've been out there and our maintenance, personnel are out there quite often. And so they're watching their destination. Where are they coming from? Where are they going to? Most of the time, there's a gas station on one side and then hotels or something on the other, north and south of State Highway 14, and they're going back and forth from that. You can see those little cat tracks also in the median itself, because it's vegetated, so you can see where people are walking. That's one. Two, does it make sense to keep it there? So that's the other thing we consider. Yes, a lot of it has to do with sight distance and reaction time of drivers from the interstate. So they're coming off the bridge and they're coming down the hill. So you want to look at how quickly can someone decelerate to the next signal if they're coming down the hill. So you take that into consideration with your design speed and then the amount of traffic out there. You don't want people slamming on the brakes and then there's a queue and then somebody else hits somebody behind them. So that spacing is considered. And then additionally, the other thing that you would want to look at is, are there acceleration lanes in that area? You don't want somebody accelerating into a crosswalk. So that's usually how you decide. If something doesn't make sense, then you start looking at, should we change the geometry of the area, the roadway geometry, and you just start going down that design rabbit hole. But this ended up working out. We did have to close an acceleration lane for that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I had a question about accessing the revised interchange from the Denver side, coming north. I've noticed that with all the freeway construction, on 25 south of there, that you all added an exit lane basically to go off on Prospect, but Prospect is still a pretty narrow, just a few, maybe 3 lanes, when you get to the diamond light there. And, Harmony is a problem, right? Because there is no exit lane and traffic often backs up a mile or more on I-25 North. Are you going to widen 25, northbound to allow the volume of traffic to move off?
At this time, no. So the EIS does have that managed lane continuing, and it terminates at Mulberry. It doesn't go north of Mulberry. No, we had identified that there would not be a need to widen I-25 north of where it is today.
May I just do a quick follow-up? So I think you're probably familiar with how the Prospect interchange is organized since it was completely rebuilt. And there is this exit lane, where traffic can move off the 75 mile an hour lanes to go out the exit. But are you saying there's already a lane that serves that purpose at Mulberry, or?
On I-25, are you talking about the ramps or are you talking about the managed lane?
I'm talking about the exiting right into the new diamond exit ramp lane.
Onto the ramp. Yes, there would be, I don't think I understand the question.
Okay, well, I can follow up. Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah, I mean, there will definitely be a ramp and 2 lanes coming off the ramp. So the off ramp will have 2 lanes, and then I'll go into a triple left at the diamond northbound.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead, Dan, and then we'll get to Nicole's question.
Do the type of pedestrian signal or crossing signal there, is it a pedestrian habit feature?
It is a full signal.
Okay.
Mhm. pretty much the same as what you'll see on the bridge.
And then Nicole's question is, does meeting the level of service for greenfields require the through lanes to be expanded from 4 to 6? Or did the study look at the existing capacity?
We did look at existing capacity. That's a great question, Nicole. So yes, eventually Mulberry will need to be widened. More what happens at Greenfields is it will need that double left, which it already has the space for that. Will Mulberry get widened to 6 lanes is a whole nother question. This project will anticipate any sort of drainage or utilities to be pushed out for that potential widening someday. But yes, the amount of traffic that is expected, this design will handle it. It just, like the bridge will be built wide enough for it. Profiles, turning movements will be built for it. It just probably won't get built out to that full 6-lane configuration.
And just a quick follow-up to that, do you know how, I guess in your studying of it, and I can dig into the traffic study of this one kind of, I thought I heard it at, when we were meeting about this the other day, but is it soon that it starts to fail, or is it just that it's that left turn so it's just one of the movements that fails, not the overall intersection?
Yep.
Okay.
It would just need that double left.
No, that's perfect. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elizabeth's got a question, will CDOT perform signal timing with the addition of a new signal?
So we'll do the study, but actually City of Fort Collins, I believe in the last meeting, will have this signal because they manage greenfields as well. So it'll time in with that. It'll be on the same network.
I have a question. So, why, for the at-grade crossing, how do you think that would be successful to keep, people who are trying to cross the different areas, get them to the one specific location?
So the one thing I will say this graphic does not do well is showing some sort of fencing that funnels them to that area. So it is at the fringe of a floodplain, and so if we do fence, then we would have to have breakaway fence, floodplain fence. So it doesn't show it on this, unfortunately. We just kicked this off this month, actually. The beginning of this, it feels like a longer month. But yeah, but there will be in between the frontage road and Mulberry, there will be fencing there to funnel them towards that area. And then otherwise, it's just, we're gonna add sidewalk and make it ADA accessible to get them on the north and south sides of the frontage road. That would be the other way. So it'll be sidewalk, cross the frontage road, floodplain fencing barrier, cross Mulberry, floodplain fencing barrier, cross the frontage road, sidewalk. That was north to south. Yes.
So drivers on Mulberry, they're trying to change lanes, get on, get off Mulberry. It's kind of crazy there right now. So are there any design considerations to slow vehicles down or make that very clear to drivers that we've got pedestrians crossing in that space?
Great question. So we are closing accesses. So a lot of those turn movements will be gone. Additionally, this was brought up by City of Fort Collins. It was a great comment at our last meeting of should we look at reducing speeds? And so we're looking at that right now.
Okay.
I believe the request, I think right now, forgive me, I think it's 50 or 55 and we would be looking to reduce it to 45.
Okay.
But the acceleration lane, there's 3/4 movement. Those will be gone. So a lot of that weave pattern won't be there anymore. Great question.
Elizabeth had another question.
And then, Elizabeth, kind of had a follow-up here. Why not design pedestrian bike overpass, underpass, rather than have an intersection.
It causes a rise in the floodplain. The floodplain's super wide through there. Elizabeth, I can get you, and I need to share this, with Larimer County and City of Fort Collins as well. I have a nice plan and profile view of the proposed interchange, where John Stockton would go, and then if we had another separate overpass, where the floodplain is in correlation to all of that. And I just received that yesterday or 2 days ago, so I can get that out to you guys.
And I have a kind of a follow-up question. So you did discuss some of the bike ped improvements kind of on the west side of the bridge, but are there any improvements on the bridge itself for people
Yes.
who are crossing I-25?
Yes, yes, so the bridge will have bike ped infrastructure. It's included in the cross section of the bridge, and I don't have that one with me. So we're looking at that right now. A couple of things we're considering and we'll be reaching out to the city with is, if you're looking east, so the south side of the bridge, one thing we've been noticing happens quite often with a lot of this bike ped infrastructure is when it snows. We usually have that barrier, that concrete barrier, and so then the snow gets piled up there and it never melts, or it does melt and it's an ice rink. Some type of different, not plexiglass, but we'll say plexiglass, so that the light can come through on that south side of the road, so that people can still use the pedestrian infrastructure in the winter. So we're looking through that right now, but yes, north and south will have bike and ped bridge.
And then I just have a comment. We do have one of our RATCs crossing I-25. It's the Front Range Trail. It is south of this. So I don't know if we'll have any impact on the project, but,
Is it Box Elder?
I believe so. I believe that's what's planned across, but that could impact where pedestrians go once that's built out and it's fully connected on each side. Just want to make that comment.
Thank you.
And then I just had a question. Have you engaged with any of the business owners or along here? I know you're changing things on the front road to the east side of the interchange and,
So we'll start public comment this summer.
okay. All right, any additional questions? All right, see you. Thank you very much.
Last one's asking about, your contact info, and Elizabeth provided it.
Thank you.
All right, very good. With that, we'll move on to the lead planning agency for air quality agenda with the Regional Air Quality Council updates with Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
There we go. It got shrunk down on my screen. Sorry about that. So I just have a brief report looking ahead to the what we call our Control Strategy Committee meeting, which is generally held monthly. So the next one will be on June 17th, first thing in the morning. I'll put this information in the chat so it's easy to record. We have some interesting speakers on some important topics for North Front Range communities. We have Professor Jeff Collette from CSU, who's going to talk about this study that was done starting in 2025 to look at the causes and sources of ozone in northern Colorado and then down into the Denver metro area. It's called FROZE, and it's funded by the Air Quality Enterprise, and it's a collaboration of the RAC, CSU, and the Technical Services Program at the Air Pollution Control Division. So that's one topic I think be interesting about what causes ozone in northern Colorado. Secondly, we've invited Xcel Energy to discuss this hot topic of data centers and their impacts, and Xcel will be talking about their energy management plans related to clean energy and how they're addressing data centers. And then we have several work products that I've talked about at previous TAC meetings that we'll be reporting the progress on that are due to be finished in June. So hopefully we'll have a substantive update on the progress of those items. So that's my report, and I'll drop that information in the chat so it's easy to record. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Tom. Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the Air Pollution Control Division updates with Brendan.
Hey everyone, the pretty quick update as well from the Air Division. Some recent updates on rulemaking hearings. One I mentioned last month from April's AQCC meeting on toxic air contaminants. The commission adopted measures to control emissions of 5 priority air toxic contaminants: benzene, ethylene oxide, formaldehyde, hexavalent chromium compounds, and hydrogen sulfide. This was done in response to HB 22-1244, which directed the Air Division to identify, establish health-based standards for, and adopt emission control regulations to reduce these identified priority air toxics. So that was a big one last month, and then at this upcoming AQCC hearing, AQCC meeting, there's one rulemaking hearing on regulation number 3 regarding permitting and emissions reportings, and as well as regulation number 7 for emissions reporting. And here the commission will consider revisions to the air pollutant emission notice or APEN requirements and fees, and that will be May 21st through 22nd if anyone has any interest in attending. And that's all I have.
Great, thanks, Brendan. Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the Metropolitan Planning Organization agenda with the May 2026 TIP amendment. Jonathan, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. The 2026 TIP amendment includes 2 project modifications and 1 project addition from various agencies. The first modification is from the Larimer and Weld County project, Weld County Road 13, Larimer County Road 1, and Weld County Road 54, Larimer County Road 18 roundabout. This has an addition of $10,614,122 local overmatch funding in fiscal year 26. The second modification is for the Fort Collins project Foothills Transit Station roundabout. First, the scope of the project changes from final construction to final design. This modification removes $10,714,000 federal raise grant award because that award was withdrawn by the United States Department of Transportation. For MMOF, $389,835 is removed from fiscal year 25 and $96,019 is removed from fiscal year 26, as Fort Collins is declining their second MMOF award for that project. For faster funds, all $400,000 will be removed from this project, and will be rescoped to a different project in the future. Additionally, $1,587,110 local funding and $732,371 local overmatch is removed. The remaining local funds are used to satisfy the MMO match requirement. Lastly, the project addition is from Greeley with the project 35th Avenue intersection improvements with $85,000 federal discretionary funding and $398,694 federal highway safety improvement program funding, or HSIP, and $256,719 local funding, all in fiscal year 27. The public comment period opened on May 18th and will close on June 16th. An environmental and demographic impact analysis was conducted for Greeley's project addition, and that can be found in the packet. NFRMPO staff noted no disadvantages and support adding the May 2026 TIP amendment to the fiscal year 24 through 27 TIP. That's all for me, unless there are any questions.
Seeing no questions, look for a motion on this action item.
Motion to approve the TIP amendment as stated.
All right, great. So with that, we've got a motion and a second. So all in favor of approval of this item, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, with that, the May 2026 TIP amendment's been approved. Then we'll move on to discussion items. We've got Connected Communities 2055, the regional performance measures with Jerome.
All right, thank you. So for this, just a few notes before we get into the performance measures themselves. So for this discussion, we're looking at the regional performance measures. These are different from the federally required performance measures. The regional performance measures are set by the MPO. We determine what we do with it. There are no sort of regulations around it. And unlike the federal performance measures, every target that we set would be a target that we set to achieve by 2055. So it's not a 1 or 4 year planning period similar to, or like the federal performance measures. This will be looking out through the whole lifespan of the plan. And the idea of, or the purpose of these performance measures is to help guide our transportation planning decisions and to keep track of what we as a region consider to be important for our transportation system and keeping track of progress on that so we can make decisions and react as we see data. That did not save. All right, so I did have a short presentation that had in the 2050 RTP performance measures. But I'm just going to pull that up from our website real quick. So 1 second. So as part of the 2050 RTP, our current regional performance measures are population within paratransit and demand, I will fix that spelling, response service area within the NFRMPO boundary. We have fixed route revenue hours per capita within service areas. We have non-motorized facility miles per capita. We have percent of non-sim occupant vehicle commuter trips, daily vehicle miles traveled per capita, project requiring more than one extension. This is part of our TIP delay review process, and that's what that's referring to. We have travel time index on regionally significant corridors and percent of devices connected by fiber on RSCs. So we had 8 regional performance measures for the last RTP, and we are proposing more than 8 for the next RTP. So for the 2050 Connected Communities 2055 plan, we are proposing keeping the population within paratransit demand response service area performance measure, keeping fixed route revenue hours per capita within service areas. We are proposing replacing the non-motorized facility miles with percent of regional active transportation corridor network built out. We are proposing keeping percent of non-SOV vehicle commuter trips, as well as keeping daily BMT per capita. So projects not requiring any delays is the inverse of the last performance measure. So it's looking at doing the same thing, but looking at it from the other angle. We have travel time index on RCs, keeping that one. We are recommending including the new one of truck travel time reliability on RCs, because that is something that our travel demand model will be able to do in this next iteration. So target setting may come a little bit later, but that is something our model is able to do, or will be able to do with the next model. And then, as a response to some public comment we received during the 2050 RTP public comment period, we have included safety performance measures. And for all the performance measures split out by fatalities per capita and serious injuries per capita, and we break it out by mode. So we have vehicular fatalities per capita, vehicular serious injuries per capita. We have motorcycle fatalities per capita and motorcycle serious injuries per capita. We chose to split out motorcycles because when we looked into the data, quite a few of those crashes do involve motorcycles. So that was a big red flag for us and suggested that that requires a bit more investigation. So we can track that as well. And then we break it out by bicycle and pedestrian. We also have total number of crashes. This is a performance measure that's part of our congestion management process that we are also proposing to include as part of the regional transportation plan, as well as the transit ridership per capita. That is also a CMP strategy. So with that, are there any questions or comments on the recommended regional performance measures?
I'm curious for, the, performance measures that are the same as the 2050 RTP. Do you have any kind of discussion on, were we on track for that, meeting that metric in the last 5 years? Are we going in the right direction? And, if we're not, like, what type of strategies that are going in the right direction? Or do we ever look like 10 years ago, what, if we have any of the same ones and have that type of analysis?
That's part of the discussion that we've been having internally with the performance measures is how we can use them more effectively. So we have not yet looked at those performance measures. We were waiting to make sure that these are good with TAC and Planning Council before we do target setting. As we go through that targeting setting process, we will also be thinking through what processes we can create so that we can update these more frequently and have it be a little bit more useful. We haven't gotten to that solution yet, but that is something that's on our radar.
Will that also, like, I think this might be close to the same question, but, because there was the baseline and the target, will that include, like, to date, what that, or any of the ones that you had in for the 2050, being able to, like, does that make, do you know what I'm saying?
Are you asking, would we be keeping the baseline the same? Or?
Well, to compare where we are today from what those baselines were, to see what the progress from, 2021 or whenever that data was collected to now compared to the target.
If I'm understanding your question correctly, yes. That is part of the discussion that we are having is how do we use these performance measures more frequently than every time we update the RTP, whether that's we do an annual check-in, whether that's twice a year. Some of that depends on how easy it is to get the data, because all of these are, because it is a regional performance measure, we will have to collect the data ourselves. So that is one limitation with the performance measures. So I think that will also require some additional conversations with you all on how, because every time we do an update, we will need to do a data request, which would then affect all of your capacity. So I think there's some further discussion to be had on that. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Great.
All right, any more questions?
The next steps, we will be taking this to Planning Council along with our vision statement, goals, and objectives. So we're taking the GOPM out of GOPMT to Planning Council. And then once, depending on how that discussion will go, we would then go into target setting. And with target setting, we will also provide an update on where we are with the target, with the performance measures we currently have. And then with the new ones, we'll set those new set those new baselines as well.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't really know exactly what my thought is yet, but I know that one of the kind of hangups with performance measures for safety is that kind of like idea of a target. And so I know that we're not talking about the targets yet, but just thinking about like how can that be measured in a way that isn't setting this like, our target is to kill how many
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I can jump on that. I think by adding a lot of regional safety related performance measures, the goal is that we can set those however we want. We can even use different wording than targets. So I know that back whenever I presented the federal safety performance measures, we talked about how can we try to calculate these in a different way that still fits the federal requirements. Well, if we just create regional ones, we can do what we want with those. So that's the intention behind that. And I already have to look at all this data when I do the federal performance measures every year. So once we determine how to calculate those, word those, it would not be too hard to every year look at those regional safety performance measures here. Yeah, we've been thinking about that.
All right, any more comments? All right, next we've got Connected Communities 2055, RITCs, ROTCs, and RSCs. This is with Jerome and Becky.
Yeah, that one's fine.
It's sharing the map.
Yeah. So, as a result of the, I believe it was April 6th, our regional significant corridor workshop that we held with you all, there were a few changes that were promoted, that were suggested between the workshop as well as the April TAC meeting. So this is for our regionally significant corridors, and I can point out some of the changes that we've done. So one of them is extending our RSC number 17, which is Shields. And then I, off the top of my head, cannot remember the equivalent in Loveland. Taft, thank you. Shields and Taft Avenue, Loveland. So extend that out here to number 16, which is Timberline Road in Fort Collins, but is something else in this northern section. I believe is Glade off the top of my head, but extending that out to RSC number 16. We also have number 28, which is Prospect Road, extending that out both eastward and westward. So westward out to RSC number 18, which is Taft Hill in Fort Collins. Then extending eastward to RSC number 11, which is up here, State Highway 257. We also have extending RSC number 18 southward to number, I hate this last number, but that is State Highway 402. And then squaring it off here, and then a completely new corridor that follows First Street in Loveland, crosses over I-25 to Ronald Reagan Boulevard in Johnstown and ends at number 14. And then at the last TAC meeting, we discussed extending RC number 20, which is Will County Road 17, northbound to its terminus at State Highway 302. I'm 392, excuse me, 402, 392, too many numbers. Extending it up to State Highway 392, and then 392 would continue southbound on its alignment here. So are there any edits that we missed from the last few, from the TAC discussion as well as the workshop? And are there any other additional edits before we take this to planning council?
That matches what we asked for, so thank you.
Yeah, looks good.
Thank you. And then the RRTCs, we did not receive any additional comment at the April TAC meeting, but we still wanted to just give a another look and give another chance for any comment before we take to planning council. So there were three major changes for the RTC. One is removing one corridor that was front range passenger rail of I-25. That was there because when we adopted 26 RTP, we did not know which alignment was moving forward. We now know that front range passenger rail will be going up the BNSF alignment through Berthoud, Loveland, and Fort Collins. So we removed the I-25 alignment to be in alignment with front range passenger rail plans. We then pulled two corridors that came from the Link NOCO study. One corridor is State Highway 402 between Loveland and Evans. And then the other one is along Colorado Boulevard, starting in Johnstown, going up to Will County Road 74/Harmony Road. So were there any other edits that we did not include or that you would like for us to include before we take this to planning council? So in terms of next steps, we'll be taking this to planning council in the coming months. And once we get approval from planning council to proceed, we will begin the RSC visioning process. And we will do that for the RSCs, the RTCs, as well as the RATCs. And then with that, we'll be doing further engagement with communities. We'll also be doing an online ArcGIS story map, similar to what we did for the 2050 RTP, where we were able to get comment from the public on these corridors, and we incorporate those comments into the corridor profiles. And we are anticipating having those first draft, those corridor profiles ready for your review in March of 2027. So we will keep you all in the loop if that schedule were to change, depending on how long it takes to do the visioning, as well as how much comment we do receive during the outreach period for these corridors.
Good. Any questions for John? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the 2026 public involvement plan with Jonathan. Go ahead.
Yeah, so hello again, everyone. This is the discussion for the 2026 public involvement plan, also known as the PIT. This is updated from 2022. So the public involvement plan is updated every 4 years, and this plan establishes how the North Front Range NPO and its programs will engage the public and the stakeholders in its transportation planning and air quality processes. The PIP outlines schedules, strategies, and methods to ensure all community members can participate meaningfully and stay informed. So due to this plan from 2022, we added an executive summary to have a more compact version of the plan, which we try to do with all of our documents. It doesn't be long and technical. We have an outreach locations map. This is what staff use internally to see if we have any gaps in our outreach and also look at locations we're doing and map those over with various demographic maps, such as access to internet or our environmental demographic impact analysis. We have information on how to get to our website's open data GIS page. We have information on how to get to the NFRMPO contact forms. There's one that's the general contact. There's one where you can comment on our website, and there's one you can do for data requests. So we provided information on those and how to access them. We outlined the differences in public and stakeholder engagement in this plan. And we also noted the results of the 2026 PIP survey, which we have results from 22 respondents. So what is updated from the previous PIP? We updated our engagement strategies, one of those being the types of outreach events that we attend. If you don't remember, we kind of switched over to more smaller scale events when possible, such as farmers markets, for more meaningful engagement. We also identified the levels of engagement, and then we noted and linked key websites and web pages that we are the most important for the public to be able to access easily. We updated our accessibility information. We updated our branding standards, so our new logo and color palette. We updated our active social media platforms. We are now on a lot more since 2022. We updated our federal legislation. We updated our list of NFRMPO plans and programs. We updated, how we measure and define successful engagements, both internally and externally. And then we have various updated maps. So there's one for focus communities, limited English proficiency, access to internet, broadband serviceable locations, and the environmental and demographic impact analysis. So this is the current schedule. The 45-day public and stakeholder comment period opened on May 7th. So far, we have received one comment from Eric, pointing out various spelling mistakes, which is fun. And design is great for many things, but spelling mistakes is not one of them. So we are here at the TAC discussion. This will be at the next funding council discussion. And then it'll be a TAC recommendation at the June meeting. The public comment period and stakeholder comment period will end on June 21st. We'll go to planning council approval on July 2nd, and then the official document release after the long weekend will be on July 6th. So there's still time. You received an email to look at the public development plan. So please do if you want to. And we have a whole page in the plan for those comments. So I very much appreciate any input. That is all from me, unless there are any questions.
No question, but I just wanted to say that it is very visually appealing. I like it. Good job.
All right, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to Connected Communities 2055 data request for Jerome.
All right. You can hear me talk again. Yay. So, that's all. So we are doing something slightly different with our data request for the RTP this year. So one of the outcomes of the 2050 RTP in college we received from TAC is that there's a little bit of confusion on when data is needed with the multiple data requests. So we are trying to consolidate them as much as possible. So this data request will include the projects that go into the plan, our travel model needs for model development, as well as our operations and maintenance. So in here, this spreadsheet is pretty much the same as what we sent out last time. We included all the inputs that we received last time. So when we send this out, we have agency, year of completion, project name, street name, all that. We have base condition as well as improved condition. All this is the same. And then we have our costs in 2018 dollars. And then we have a section for revised costs. Some of these included revised costs that we received last time, as well as the year of revised costs, and then whether or not it's fiscally constrained or unconstrained. So in our definitions tab, we have the definition of what that means. So if a project is fiscally constrained, that means funding identified or reasonably expected to be available by 2055, after 5 there. And then unconstrained is funding is not reasonably expected to be available by 2055. So when this is sent out, I would recommend first filtering for your agency. Some projects are amongst multiple agencies, so do make sure that that you have all the projects. So there are some, well, off the top of my head, Berthoud and Larimer County have a joint project, so making sure that you have all of those in the drop down. So when reviewing this, we ask that you look at the project you currently have and provide any edits or updates. We're particularly looking for revised costs for existing projects if there are new costs. If the costs are the same, but it's just in 2026 dollars versus 2018 dollars, we can do that calculation. We are mostly looking for if there is new costs due to outside factors. So scope change, things like that. We then ask to include any new projects. So for those, any project that is a capacity project needs to be included regardless of what corridor it is on. And then every project on the regionally significant corridors. For now, we are going to assume that planning council is a-okay with the new additions to our corridor. So please do include projects for that. If there are any significant changes and you already submitted your projects, we can go in and mark which projects are no longer in a region specific corridor, and then, reach out to you all and have a discussion on what to do for those projects. And when we send this out, we can also send out the map of those corridors and the extents. We do mark what is required and not required. So for each project, we will need to know if available, of course, the agency, year of completion. This is particularly important based off of how we do our financial plan. We do it by staging periods, which is usually a 10-year period. So let's say 2030, 2040, 2040, 2050, or whatever that stage period may be for this plan. That is how we break it out from that staging period. Project name and its extents, and then base condition and improved condition. So that can include lane, number of lanes, whether it's paving an existing road, facility type, park and rides, things of that nature. The project source, that is not required, but that is information you have. It's good to know. We do have the revised cost section. If there are no revised costs and it is the same, it is okay to leave that blank or to put a comment in there, no revised costs. But we do ask that you do look at that, 'cause that does go into our financial plan. And then do mark whether it is fiscally constrained or unconstrained. If there are any questions throughout the process for any of those projects, feel free to reach out and we can chat on what category that would fit. We then have various funding sources. So we have, looks like 4 different slots for funding source. So if you already know that funding source identified, please include that in there. We do recognize there are some projects that may be in your plan that you know are coming, especially for looking out to 2055, but the funding source may not be identified. If that's the case, it's okay to leave that blank. This will only need to be filled out if you already have that funding source identified. And then for projects that have multiple funding sources, we do have the source percentage. So please do provide how much of that funding, the percentage of that funding source in the overall funding package. And then here is multiple elements. So this is for particularly new projects, please do fill this out. Or for existing projects, if there is a multimodal element that's been included that was not part of that's not in the 2050 RTP, so that's as of 2023 and later, please fill that out as well. If there have been no changes to multimodal projects for an existing project, you do not need to fill this out. We'll just assume that conditions are the same. And when we send out the email, we will also, when we send out the email with the data request, it will include instructions. So you don't necessarily need to remember all this right now. We did just want to bring this in front of you all to discuss before sending it out, in case there are any questions beforehand for us to include in the instructions or to look at before we send out the data request. So are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the project before we go to traffic model needs?
I just want to confirm, this is the same information that you all had received for the last RTP update?
Yes.
And any changes to like the tip or anything between that, we should be double checking and updating ourselves. I just want to, like, you guys have been making updates as you get tip updates.
On this, we have not. So yeah, please do check for that.
Wanted to make sure.
But we do make those changes in the model.
Okay.
But not in this particular spreadsheet. Other questions? Pass it over to Isabel to discuss the travel model needs.
So for the regional travel demand model, we need the observed traffic counts, which we already discussed, but we will provide the shape files mostly if available. And if the shape files are not available for the traffic count, we will need with the specific location the coordinates as well. If you are providing us the traffic counts in a Excel spreadsheet, so we can process that data in GIS files, because that will be feeded into our regional travel demand model. Other than that, we will need the time of day when the traffic counts are collected, and then the vehicle classification according to the FHWA classification categories. If those vehicle classification are according to the FHWA, then it will be something like that: passenger vehicles, autos, light trucks, medium trucks, and heavy trucks. And other than that, only for the cities which have transit facility, Fort Collins, Greeley, and Loveland, we need the transit survey data that includes the route level boarding data. And corresponding to that, on the same time of period, we need the transit survey as well, like that is conducted. And other than that, we need those information in the traffic survey data, like the trip purpose, household income, time of day of the travel, and number of transfer, I will say, wherever it applicable. And here is a PDF as an example for whoever it may concern. So it is just a demo how the traffic count table should look like. You can zoom in and see the information over here. And if you need a complete file for this one, a table, I can provide you within an email, but this is what I'm talking about. If that is an Excel spreadsheet, not a GIS file, we need the coordinates as well to process it in the GIS.
Thank you. Then next we'll go on to operation and maintenance. So with that, we did recalculate our local major road lane miles. And how we do that is we take that from CDOT data. So we do that so we use consistent shape files across RTPs, and so that there's transparency when we are getting that information in case there are questions on what's this specific communities on why is our major lane miles look like this? Why does it look like that? That comes from CDOT data. And this CDOT data was updated last in 2024. So for operation maintenance costs, we will need the operation cost per lane mile for your communities, as well as maintenance cost per lane mile, which for many communities will be an average. That's fine. We will be doing a regional average based off of the information we get from you all, and then we'll be using that average to do our calculation for operation and maintenance in our financial plan. So with that, please do provide your most current operation and maintenance cost per lane mile, and then include the dollar a year, since each community may have different years when their most recent calculation for that was done. And then we also are looking for your average intersection improvement costs. So for each project, we will include the cost specific as part of that. However, as part of the financial plan, we do also do an average intersection cost as part of that. So that's similar situation where we have amount, dollar, year, and time frame.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there a scope that you could provide that would indicate what that includes?
Yes, we can do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can provide a scope. So with this, I would ask, check your community lane miles to see if it makes sense to you all. And then provide those O1 costs. And I'll reiterate, throughout this process, as you're going through the data requests, if there are any questions, anything that pops up as you're doing the process, please reach out. The best place to reach out is the planning email, because then whoever would be best to answer that would be able to address that. But you can also reach out to me directly, and I can point you to the right direction if I am not that right person. So we will be sending this out this week, and we are, Kim?
When you send it out, can you define what operations and maintenance like means to you for this, like a little bit more specifically?
Yes, yes, I can. And in the email, it will have, instructions as well as those definitions, and then I can also include those definitions in the definition tab as well. Thank you for bringing that up. I did not think to look at the definition tab to include operation and maintenance, since that was included to this, so I will do that before it's sent out. And then, as I mentioned, we have our definition tab. So we have roadway facility type, bicycle facility type. This is how it is modeled in our model, coded in our model. Abbreviations, so ML and M lanes for managed lanes or express lanes, then GP for general purpose lanes. We then have fiscal constraint, and then we will also include operation maintenance as we define it for the RTP. Are there any additional questions? And we can also bring this back to TAC once the request is out and you have a chance to kind of dig through it and look through the projects. We can provide some additional time in a future meeting to discuss it further, if that is needed.
I apologize for you to say this, but what is the like very general time frame of when you're meeting this information then?
I think we said we would have it out for 3 weeks.
So.
We can extend it.
No, I was, the end of June, we need the model data July, early July. So, but we wanted to send it all out at once so that there were plenty of time for questions and going back and forth, so. For the month, 4 weeks, and then, yeah. The travel model data is the most critical.
We will also be providing a link to be able to upload any Excel documents, shape files for the travel model needs, or if the others require Excel document or outside of this or shape file that can be uploaded there as well. So that will be part of that email.
All right, very good. Any additional questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to outside partner reports. We've got the NOCO Bike and Ped Collaborative again, which is
very popular during this meeting. So for the May NOCO Bike and Ped meeting, we did an in-person event, and we were looking at the Walk and Wheel Skills Hub in Fort Collins. So where that is located, that's located on Drake Road in Dunbar, right off the Spring Creek Trail. And for that meeting, we were looking at how Fort Collins developed that Walk and Wheel Skills Hub, and then we were able to actually get out and ride bikes to check out the Skills Hub and see what it's like. So what the Skills Hub is it is in a parking lot that the city of Fort Collins had agreement with that church to put in the parking lot, and it has different, so it has like a makeshift roundabout, bike lanes, signs like that. And the goal is to be able to bring children or adults who are learning how to ride bicycles and teach them the rules of the road and not be on the road. The event was lightly attended, but we did have some good discussion, and it was a very, very enjoyable event. So we are looking to possibly do it again next year, maybe not in May, because we found out there's a conference and then graduations. May is a hard time for scheduling outside things, so we will be looking to do that again next year, not in May, to provide some more education on what Walk and Wheel Skills Hubs are. And I thought it was a very fun time. Had some good conversation, and yeah, and that's all I have for NOCO back then.
All right, very good. We'll move on to Regional Transit Agency reports with Joshua.
We are meeting next Wednesday. So I'll bring it forward.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll move on to mobility updates with Tanya.
Right, first of all, just a reminder that, applications are open and due on the 29th for the 5310 funding opportunity, 5311 and 5304 for planning. So if any of you are planning to apply and you're gonna need letters of support, please just send them our way in. We're asking you to send them by next Wednesday, so we get back to your time to submit them by Friday. Additionally, we will be applying for some of these funds, so I'll be sending out requests for letters of support very soon. So you'll receive those tomorrow. If we can get them back by Wednesday, that would be great. Last week, the mobility team was at the CASTA conference, which was great content and really good conversations on collaborations. Something that was really fun is the mobility team was able to set up the opportunity for one of our longtime mobility committee members, and now the chair, Steve, was able to attend the mobility summit. They set up transportation, which was provided by Nita. So we spent the day at the CASTA conference, and that was a really great addition. He's super passionate and, an advocate for transportation. So for him to be there firsthand was very nice, and he was very appreciative of that. What else do I have? Our website is completed and will go live on Monday. So please take a look at it, and that is at ride.noco. So check out the new look and the new resources that are on there, and please provide us your feedback. And other than that, we've just been busy working on grants, and we've gotten back a couple of grants that we received. We received 2 grants through AARP to work with aging adults around mobility, and also a small grant to do a bike and walk audit. So we're excited on the mobility side of things.
Very good. All right, then we'll move on to reports. We've got several written reports. We've got the May Planning Council meeting summary draft. That's a written report. North Front Range NPO air quality program updates. That's a written report. The 2026 Colorado legislative updates, written report. Mobility committees is also a written report. And then we'll move on to the roundtable. And I guess we can start. Just go around the table.
Windsor is going to be advertising some of the construction projects. We're grant funded with STPG funds for the MPO. So look for those next week if you want to go build a roundabout in Windsor. It'd be cool. We also advertised our TMP and road impact fee updates. So we're working on consultant selection process right now, and be working through updating both of those plans in the next 12 to 18 months. A bunch of other stuff, but yeah, full contract.
Walking Bike Month is coming up very soon, so we have a lot of programming happening throughout the month, and it's all listed on our website. And I also have some flyers if anybody is interested in a physical flyer. And I don't have any dates for any of this yet, but for both the front range passenger rail stationary planning project and our SS4A will have some engagement happening throughout the summer and towards the end of the year. So I will keep everybody updated on those.
Oh.
City of Greeley has a new public works director. His name is Seth Sorensen. So he started about 2 weeks ago. So he's drinking from a fire hose, as you might imagine. But it's great to have that position filled. We are currently doing our electric vehicle and alternative fuel plan update right now. It's open for survey. We're doing some outreach both with the public on charging stations as well as businesses and multifamily housing. So check out Speak Up Greeley if you're interested, or come to Greeley and want to provide some recommendations for where you would want charging to be by 2050. We also are going to have our we call it Let's Bike Day in Greeley to kind of make it more inclusive to, everyone. So we will be having stations as well. And then, kind of similarly, we, are finishing up our, NEPA review for, Safe Streets for All. We have an anticipated, I think it's about 150 locations for improvements throughout Greeley with our grant. So we'll be doing, pop-up events and public outreach throughout the summer and early fall. So our Speak Up Greeley page will be the best place to stay up to date with that project.
So our quadrennial review, so our NPO certification review was held back on April 29th. So we got to spend all day in our conference room with FHWA and FTA and regional transit folks. So that was good. We will have our reports by June 14th. So, and we'll bring that, or I will be presenting that at the July council meeting. So, we'll be submitting our GHG transportation report on the 2050 RTP amendments, hopefully today, to CDOT and to CDPHE. So that will be submitted again and then posted again with public comments, as there have been some significant changes to the document. And then finally, the ozone conference you may have heard about, the call for abstracts is open until June 23rd, and there will be we had a town hall on May 15th. And we're having another town hall, virtual town hall on June 3rd at 6 p.m. And the information for registering for that and for the abstracts, all that's on our website.
Yeah, I didn't have anything for the well. Honey, you good?
So mostly working on the potential addition for the public dashboard. We are thinking for regional profit demand model. And other than that, just a heads up that our next model steering team meeting will be on June 25th. All right. So we wanted to let you all know that the NPO was not awarded the Highway Safety Office grant we applied for. The NPO is now taking time to try and see what our staff capacity is and what funding is needed to try to make an event like that still happen. We of course have our ozone conference happening this fall first, which is a little bit of a priority because it's happening soon, but we really want to make a safety focused one day event happen with our stakeholders, hopefully in 2027. So I'll keep you updated on that as we get that figured out. I also will be either reaching out or reaching back out to some of you all that have more recent crash data to try to figure that out with you all, see what that looks like. I think for me, it's important to have kind of a sample data set to compare everyone's data to each other and see what do I actually need when I'm asking for it more often. And then with the Connected Communities 2055 RTP, we are working on creating and publishing a specific web page for that. So once we've got that published, we'll make sure to share it with you all. And also June is going to be quite a busy outreach month for the NPO. Coming up first on June 7th is Loveland Bike and Trails Day. We'll be at that. On June 13th, we'll be at the Windsor Farmers Market. And then on the 24th, we'll be participating in 6 different Bike to Work Day or Bike Anywhere, Bike Everywhere days. So, yeah. And then I know Mobility is also doing quite a few events in June as well. That's all for me.
All right, so the PIP covered most of my important stuff, but now that the PIP is closing, my focus will be back on the freight plan. So, very possibly emails or questions about that. I think that's it.
So a lot of my big things are covered in my items. I do have some legislative updates. So as of last Wednesday, the General Assembly is out of session. So legislatively, the only things we are waiting on is what the governor will not sign. So there are 2 bills in particular that I want to bring to your attention. Is House Bill 26-1398, that is a retail delivery fee bill. That bill did pass out of both houses and is on the governor's desk. And as a reminder, that is a bill that changes the retail delivery fee allocation for MMOF from 85% for local projects and 15% for state projects to 70% for local projects and 30% for state projects. So that would increase the amount that the state receives in MMOF for state project and reduce the amount that local agencies would receive, or that we would receive to give out to local agencies. The second bill is House Bill 261399, and that is the MMOF general fund transfer bill. That bill did go to conference committee because there wasn't disagreements between the House and the Senate. And the latest bill language, it does look like that is only a 1 year elimination. They will revisit it in 27. And then on Sunday, now we're moving on to the US Congress. The Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill did drop. It is called the Build America 250 Act. It is going to the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee tomorrow, will be marked up. So the contents are likely to change. The bill itself is, I believe, 1,005 pages long. So agencies are still looking through to see what's in it. The summary that was sent out from the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee was 65 pages long. So I'm still looking through that to see what the major impacts are. And this is before it goes to committee. We also have not seen the Senate version and do not know what's going to come out of that. So there's still quite a bit in the air, but this bill does get some direction on where it is going, but we're still reviewing to see the major impacts. And that's all I got.
Great, we'll go online. Anyone want to participate in the roundtable online? All right, seeing none, I think we'll wrap things up here. Next TAC meeting is going to be June 17th. Thank you guys.